This title is presented to you by Soundlibra.com. For more audiobooks like this, click the link in the description or visit our website at Soundlibra.com. Welcome to The Good Enough Parent, where we release perfectionism and enjoy fully.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited about this series. Before we jump in, a quick heads up that while we're discussing parenting and well-being, this isn't professional medical or mental health advice, so please consult with a professional for your specific needs.
That's a great point, Lisa. I think this series touches every single parent out there, especially that weight of the pressure to be perfect.
It really does. Alex, can you elaborate on what that good enough phrase means, especially at this introductory stage?
Absolutely. Think about it this way. We're often taught that perfect parenting involves somehow anticipating every single need of our child, never making a mistake, always having the perfect response, and ensuring our child is always happy, successful, and well-adjusted without any bumps along the way. It's an impossible standard.
It sounds like a recipe for burnout because life, and especially raising children, is full of bumps and imperfections, isn't it?
Precisely. The good enough parent, a concept influenced by thinkers like Donald Winnicott, isn't about being lazy or indifferent. It's about being realistically attuned to a child's needs while acknowledging that you are human. A good enough parent provides a safe, loving environment, meets their child's essential needs, and supports their development. But they also allow for mistakes, for imperfections, and for the natural messiness of life and childhood.
So, it's less about achieving an unattainable ideal and more about being present, responsive, and human. It's about recognizing that our children will thrive even when we're not perfect, and perhaps even because we're not perfect.
You've hit the nail on the head, Lisa. This series is built on the idea that striving for perfection in parenting is often counterproductive. It can lead to anxiety for the parent and, paradoxically, can sometimes hinder a child's development of resilience. When children are constantly shielded from any hint of imperfection or difficulty by perfectly curated parenting, they may not develop the skills to navigate challenges themselves.
That's a really important point. We want our children to be resilient, to be able to cope with life's ups and downs. But if we're always smoothing every bump, we might be robbing them of that opportunity.
Exactly. And it's not just about the child. The pressure of perfection is incredibly detrimental to the parent's well-being. Think about the endless hours spent agonizing over decisions, comparing yourself to others, feeling guilty about not doing enough or not doing it right. It's a cycle that depletes our emotional and mental resources.
I can resonate with that so much. There have been countless times I've caught myself scrolling through messages and feeling a pang of inadequacy because my life, or my child's behavior, didn't measure up to the seemingly effortless perfection I was seeing shared. It's a dangerous trap.
It is. And that comparison trap is something we'll delve into much deeper in later episodes. For now, we want to set the foundation. We're introducing the concept of good enough not as an excuse for neglect, but as a liberating framework that allows for love, connection, and effective parenting without the crippling burden of perfectionism.
So, to recap for our listeners, good enough parenting means being a loving, responsive, and present caregiver who meets a child's essential needs, but also acknowledges human imperfection. It's about ditching the pressure of perfection for the liberation of being good enough.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. We're focusing on the reality of parenting, not the fantasy. This means embracing the mess, the unscripted moments, and the fact that we, as parents, are on a learning journey, just like our children. We'll be exploring practical strategies and mindsets that can help you shed the weight of perfectionism and truly enjoy the incredible experience of raising your children.
I'm so looking forward to exploring this further. What can listeners expect in our next episode, Alex?
Next episode, The Myth of the Perfect Parent.
Excellent. So, to our listeners, remember that your best is good enough. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back. Last time, we introduced the core concept of the good enough parent. Now, let's tackle something many of us wrestle with, the myth of the perfect parent.
Oh, this is such a crucial topic, Alex. It's that image many of us hold in our heads, or maybe see splashed across social media, of parents who seem to have it all figured out. They're always calm, their kids are impeccably behaved, their homes are spotless, and their homemade organic snacks are always ready. It looks, well, perfect.
Exactly, Lisa. And that's precisely the problem. This idea of the perfect parent is largely a myth, a cultural narrative we've absorbed, and it's incredibly damaging. Where do you think we get this idea from?
Well, for me, a big part of it is social media. You scroll through Instagram or Facebook and you see these curated snapshots of parenthood. Every child looks happy, every meal looks gourmet, every family outing looks like a scene from a magazine. It's easy to forget that we're only seeing the highlight reel, not the everyday reality.
That's a fantastic point. Social media, by its very nature, is a presentation of idealized moments. It's a carefully selected collection of the best bits. And beyond social media, think about the stories we hear, the advice we're given, even the way children's books often portray families. There's this implicit pressure to be flawless.
And it's not just external, is it? We internalize these expectations. We tell ourselves we should be able to handle every tantrum with grace, should always know the right thing to say, should be able to juggle work, home, and our child's endless needs without breaking a sweat. It's exhausting just thinking about it.
It truly is. This pursuit of perfection can manifest in so many ways. It can lead to overscheduling our children, trying to provide them with every possible enrichment activity, all in the name of giving them the best possible start. Or it can mean parents feeling immense guilt if they can't always be present, or if they make a mistake.
And that guilt is a heavy burden. It makes us second guess our every decision. Did I pack enough healthy snacks? Was that the right disciplinary approach? Should I have signed them up for that extra class? Suddenly, parenting isn't about love and connection. It's about achieving an unattainable grade.
Precisely. We often frame parenting as a performance. We're constantly being evaluated, not just by others, but by ourselves. And the goal of this performance? Perfection. But what does that perfection even look like? Is it a child who never cries? A parent who never loses their temper? That's not realistic, and frankly, it's not even desirable.
Why isn't it desirable, Alex? Because it's not real life?
Partly yes. But also, consider this. When a child witnesses their parent calmly and effectively handling a mistake, or when a parent models how to apologize and repair a situation, that's a far more valuable lesson than a parent who appears to be flawless. It teaches resilience, humility, and the importance of growth. Perfection, in a way, stunts growth.
That's a powerful way to look at it. So, this myth of the perfect parent isn't just about external pressure, it's also about what we're teaching our children by striving for it. We're potentially teaching them that mistakes are failures rather than opportunities to learn and adapt.
Exactly. And the emotional toll on parents is immense. The constant striving, the fear of judgment, the feeling of never being good enough, it can lead to anxiety, burnout, and a diminished sense of self-worth. It's as if we're trying to live up to an airbrushed magazine cover, not a real human experience.
It sounds like this myth actively gets in the way of enjoying parenthood. If we're always focused on not messing up, are we really present for the joy?
That's the core of it, Lisa. When we're chasing perfection, we're not savoring the messy, chaotic, beautiful reality of raising children. We're too busy trying to control the narrative, to present an image, to meet an impossible standard. And in doing so, we miss out on the genuine magic of everyday parenting.
So, how do we start to dismantle this myth in our own lives? It feels like such a deeply ingrained idea.
The first step is awareness, and we're doing that right now by talking about it. Recognizing that the pervasive image of perfection is largely curated and unrealistic is key. Then, we need to start challenging our own internal dialogue. When that voice pops up saying, you should be doing this better, gently question it. Ask yourself, says who and why?
That's good advice. It's about becoming more mindful of our own perfectionist tendencies. And I imagine that leads us towards something we'll discuss more of later, being kinder to ourselves.
Absolutely. Self-compassion is the antidote to perfectionism. It's the understanding that making mistakes is part of being human, especially as a parent. It's about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we'd offer to a struggling friend. Remember, being a good parent isn't about being a perfect one. It's about showing up, doing your best, and learning as you go.
So, to recap for our listeners, the idea of the perfect parent is largely a myth, fueled by social media and cultural narratives. Striving for this unattainable ideal can lead to guilt, anxiety, burnout, and prevents us from truly enjoying our parenting journey. It can also teach our children that mistakes are failures. And the path forward begins with recognizing this myth and starting to cultivate self-compassion.
Exactly. We'll continue building on this foundation in our next episode.
Next episode, Understanding the Good Enough Framework.
Welcome back. Last time we dismantled the myth of the perfect parent. Now let's unpack the good enough framework.
That's right, Alex. This framework, originally proposed by Donald Winnicott, is the cornerstone of our series. It's about a way of being a parent that is both effective and freeing. When we talk about good enough parenting, we're not talking about being slack or neglectful.
So, good enough isn't just a synonym for average or mediocre. It sounds like there's a real definition.
Exactly.
Winnicott's idea is that a good enough caregiver provides consistent care that meets the infant's needs, but not perfectly. Initially, a baby needs almost constant attunement. The caregiver is there, responding to cries, providing comfort. This creates a sense of security and trust. Imagine a tiny baby, completely dependent. They need a responsive environment to survive and thrive.
Okay, so in those very early days, it's about being very present and responsive to the baby's signals.
Precisely. But as the child grows, the good enough parent begins to allow for small, age-appropriate frustrations. This isn't about deliberately withholding care. It's about understanding that a child also needs to learn to cope. They need to experience a little bit of waiting, a little bit of disappointment, a little bit of figuring things out for themselves. These small challenges are opportunities for growth.
I see. So, instead of rushing in to solve every single problem, a good enough parent allows the child space to try and sometimes to struggle a bit.
That's a great way to put it. Allowing that space for struggle within a secure base teaches resilience. It teaches the child that they can handle discomfort. They learn that they can problem solve. And importantly, they learn that even if they can't solve it immediately, their caregiver is still there, a reliable source of support. This is where the essential difference between good enough and neglect comes in.
Could you elaborate on that? Because I can imagine some listeners might hear good enough and worry it implies not being there enough.
Absolutely. Neglect, in this context, is a persistent failure to meet a child's basic needs, whether physical, emotional, or developmental. It's a lack of responsiveness that leaves the child feeling abandoned or uncared for on a fundamental level. Good enough parenting, on the other hand, is characterized by consistent, attuned responsiveness. It's about meeting needs reliably, even if not instantaneously or flawlessly.
So, it's about providing the essential scaffolding for a child's development, but allowing them to practice using those supports.
Perfect analogy, Alex. Think of it like learning to ride a bike. A perfect parent might hover constantly, ready to catch you, preventing any scraped knees. But a good enough parent is right there, maybe with a hand on the seat, offering words of encouragement and letting you pedal. They might let you wobble, They might even let you fall, but they're close enough to ensure you're safe and to pick you up and help you get back on. That fall teaches you something about balance.
That makes so much sense. It's about fostering independence and confidence through responsive, but not overly intrusive, care.
Exactly.
And the beauty of the good enough framework is that it acknowledges reality. Parenting is messy. We are human. We have bad days. We make mistakes. We get tired. The goal isn't a flawless performance. The goal is a consistent presence that is attuned to a child's needs and provides what they require to feel secure, loved, and capable.
So, to recap for our listeners, good enough parenting, as described by Donald Winnicott, means consistently meeting a child's needs in a responsive way, but also allowing for age-appropriate frustrations that build resilience and independence. It is fundamentally different from neglect, which is a persistent failure to meet basic needs.
Yes, and this framework provides a much more realistic and attainable goal for parents. It allows us to release the pressure of perfection, which, as we discussed last time, is not only unattainable, but can also be detrimental. When we're constantly striving for perfection, we often miss the reality of what our children actually need: a real, imperfect, loving human being.
It frees us up to be more present and less anxious, doesn't it? When the pressure to be perfect is off, we can actually enjoy the parenting journey more.
It really does. And that leads directly into our next topic, which is the incredible power of repair. We'll explore how those inevitable moments of imperfection, where we might not be good enough, can actually become powerful opportunities for connection and learning.
I'm looking forward to that. So, to quickly summarize the key takeaways from today's episode on understanding the good enough framework, we learned that good enough parenting, a concept from Donald Winnicott, involves consistent, responsive care that meets a child's needs without aiming for impossible perfection. It's about providing security while allowing for age-appropriate challenges that foster resilience and independence. Crucially, it's distinct from neglect, focusing on reliable support rather than constant, instant gratification. This framework offers a more realistic and freeing approach to raising children. Next episode, the power of repair over perfection. Welcome back. We explored the foundation of good enough parenting last time. Today, we're discussing the power of repair.
Repair sounds so different from striving for perfection. You're saying mistakes and fixing them are more important than preventing them entirely.
Exactly. Life and parenthood are messy. No parent navigates it perfectly. The goal isn't to avoid missteps, but to understand how we respond when they happen.
So it's not about never falling, but how we get back up.
Precisely. And importantly, what we teach our children by doing so. Imagine a child upset about not getting a snack. We might feel frustrated or guilty about not preparing better,
I can relate to that feeling of if only.
right? But what if, after frustration, you calmly acknowledge their feelings, like, I see you're upset, and then, crucially, you repair? This might involve a hug, admitting your oversight, or finding another option.
So, repair isn't just fixing the snack issue. It's about emotional connection.
Absolutely. The emotional repair is paramount. When a child sees a parent thoughtfully acknowledge, apologize for, and attempt to make amends after a mistake, it's powerful. It teaches them that relationships are resilient, not fragile and perfect. They learn mistakes are chances for connection and growth.
This concept challenges perfectionism. If we're so focused on not making mistakes, we might avoid practicing this crucial skill.
That's astute. The fear of imperfection can cause paralysis. We might become anxious or controlling to avoid slip-ups. This can stifle authenticity and vulnerability, which are key to strong parent-child bonds.
It's like presenting a flawless facade, but children need to see a real, human parent.
Exactly. Children learn by observing. When they see us being vulnerable, admitting we don't have all the answers, and making things right when we falter, they learn it's okay to be imperfect. This builds secure attachment, fostering trust and safety. They know we'll help navigate things when they go wrong.
So, when we talk about repair, what are its key components beyond apologizing?
Great question. I see repair as having a few key ingredients. First, acknowledgement. You need to recognize that something went wrong, that a connection was ruptured. You observe and state it. I noticed you seemed hurt when I said that.
So, you're validating their experience.
Precisely. The second ingredient is responsibility. This is where the apology comes in. It's owning your part without excuses. It's a genuine, I'm sorry.
And the apology must be sincere, not just said.
Absolutely. The third component is making amends or restoration. This means taking steps to fix the situation as best you can. It could be an offer, a hug, a kind gesture, or a commitment to try differently. It bridges the gap.
So, acknowledgement, responsibility, and restoration. Those are powerful steps.
They are. And think about the impact. With consistent repair attempts, children develop a secure base. They learn their parent is reliable, even when imperfect. This security lets them explore the world more confidently, knowing they have a safe haven. They become more resilient.
Resilience feels like a buzzword, but understanding it's built through these interactions is invaluable. It's not innate, it's cultivated by how we handle life's bumps.
Exactly. It's often in small, consistent acts of repair. Saying, I was wrong when impatient. Offering a cuddle after a harsh word. Connecting after a disagreement. These moments, handled with care, are more impactful than a parent who never makes a mistake, but also never truly connects through vulnerability.
It's the authenticity of the imperfect relationship that builds true strength.
Well said. This practice of repair is a fundamental pillar of good enough parenting. It shifts focus from flawlessness to the reachable, profoundly human practice of connection, responsibility, and growth. It's a testament to the strength found not in perfection, but in our capacity to mend and reconnect.
So, instead of fearing mistakes, we can embrace them as opportunities to strengthen bonds and teach our children through the power of repair. It's a much more freeing and realistic approach.
It truly is. Next episode, we'll explore cultivating self-compassion. Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Today, let's focus on cultivating self-compassion.
Self-compassion. It sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But for so many parents, it feels like this elusive practice. We're so used to being hard on ourselves, aren't we? You know, that inner critic can be brutal.
It really can. And that's precisely why this episode is so critical. If we're going to move away from the exhausting pursuit of perfection, we need to learn how to be on our own side. Think about it. Lisa, if your best friend came to you, overwhelmed and exhausted after a tough day with their kids, what would you say to them?
Oh, I'd offer them a cup of tea, tell them they're doing a great job, maybe suggest they put their feet up for a bit. I'd be incredibly kind and understanding.
Exactly. You'd offer support, validation, and kindness. Now, ask yourself, how often do you offer that same level of compassion to yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed or have made a mistake?
Not nearly often enough. It's like there's a different standard for myself.
That's the key. Self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook or making excuses. It's about recognizing that being a parent is incredibly difficult, messy, and imperfect work, and that you, as a human being navigating this, are going to stumble. And when you stumble, you deserve kindness, not condemnation.
So, how do we actually do that? How do we turn that inner critic into a more compassionate inner voice?
Let's break it down. At its core, self-compassion has three key elements. The first is mindfulness. This means noticing your suffering, your stress, or your difficult emotions without judgment. It's simply acknowledging, wow, this is really hard right now.
So, instead of immediately pushing the feeling away or berating myself for feeling it, I just notice it. Like, okay, I'm feeling really frustrated because my toddler is having a meltdown over a banana.
Precisely. You're observing the experience as it is. The second element is common humanity. This is the understanding that everyone struggles. You are not alone in your imperfections and difficulties. Every parent at some point has felt overwhelmed, has snapped at their child, or has wondered if they're doing anything right.
That's such a powerful reminder. When you're in the thick of it, it feels like you're the only one failing. Believing you're alone makes the struggle 10 times harder.
It absolutely does. So, recognizing that shared human experience, this common struggle of parenthood, can be incredibly comforting. It helps to soften the harshness of self-criticism. You realize this is part of being human, and it's part of being a parent. I'm not a terrible person for feeling this way.
Okay, so mindfulness to notice the struggle, and common humanity to remember I'm not alone. What's the third element?
The third element is self-kindness. This is where we actively offer ourselves the same warmth and understanding we would offer someone else. It's about responding to your own needs and well-being with care, support, and nurturing. It's the opposite of self-judgment.
This is where that inner critic really has to be tamed, right?
Exactly. So, to put it all together, mindfulness is observing your difficult feelings without judgment. Common humanity is recognizing that struggle is part of the shared human experience. And self-kindness is actively being warm and understanding toward yourself.
It sounds like it builds on what we talked about in the last episode. Last time, it was about repairing with our children, and now it's about repairing with ourselves.
You've hit the nail on the head, Lisa. Self-compassion is the ultimate form of self-repair. It's the process of soothing yourself when you're hurting and comforting yourself when you've made a mistake. So, how can we practically incorporate this into our busy lives? One simple technique is what's called a self-compassion break. When you notice you're feeling stressed or upset, pause. First, acknowledge it mindfully. This is a moment of suffering. Then, connect with common humanity. Suffering is a part of life, or I'm not alone in feeling this way. Finally, offer self-kindness. Place a hand over your heart or on your cheek and say something soothing like, may I be kind to myself, or this is difficult right now, but I can get through it.
That's so simple, yet I can already feel the potential power in that. Just that physical gesture of hand on the heart can feel comforting, can it?
It really can. It's a physical anchor for the emotional shift. Another way to cultivate self-compassion is through journaling. Write down a challenging situation you're facing. Then, reflect on it from the perspective of a compassionate friend. What would you say? What words of comfort and understanding would you offer? Try writing it down as if you were speaking to a dear friend having the same problem.
Oh, that's a great exercise. It forces you to step outside your own head and reframe your internal dialogue. Instead of, I'm such a bad mom for not handling that tantrum better, it becomes, this is really tough. It's okay to feel frustrated when your child is having a meltdown. Most parents would feel this way.
Exactly. And through that practice, you begin to internalize that compassionate voice. It's like exercise for your compassion muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. We also need to be mindful of our language. Notice the words you use when you talk to yourself. Are they harsh and critical, or are they supportive and encouraging? This is part of what's called reframing your inner dialogue.
That ties back to the inner critic we mentioned earlier. It's about consciously choosing kinder words.
Absolutely. And it's not just about words. It's about cultivating a general attitude of letting go of judgment. When you find yourself thinking, I should have done this differently, try shifting to I did the best I could with what I knew and had at the time. This is about acceptance, not resignation. It's accepting the reality of the past without harsh judgment.
So we're not aiming to erase the mistake, but to acknowledge the effort and the learning that happened, even in the struggle.
You've got it. And this directly connects to the good enough framework. The good enough parent isn't perfect. They are human. They make mistakes, they get tired, but they also have the capacity to be kind to themselves through it all. They understand that perfect parenting is a myth and that striving for it is deeply detrimental to their own well-being and ultimately to their children's well-being too.
It feels like self-compassion is the foundation for everything else we've discussed and will discuss. If we can't be kind to ourselves, how will we ever truly let go of perfectionism or reduce guilt?
It's the bedrock. Without self-compassion, the pursuit of being a good enough parent will likely just become another source of anxiety and self-criticism. So, to quickly recap what we've covered today, self-compassion gives us the permission to be imperfect, recognizing that it's a shared human experience. It involves mindfulness to notice our struggles, common humanity to remember we're not alone, and self-kindness to nurture ourselves. We explored practical tools like the self-compassion break, compassionate journaling, and mindful inner dialogue.
It's about treating ourselves with the same grace and understanding we extend to others, especially our children.
Precisely. And in doing so, we create a more peaceful and sustainable approach to parenting and to life. Thank you for joining us for this crucial discussion on cultivating self-compassion.
It's been so insightful, Alex. I feel a renewed commitment to practicing this.
Excellent. Next episode, setting realistic expectations for yourself and your child. Welcome back. Last time we explored self-compassion. Today, we're setting realistic expectations.
Alex, I think this is where so many parents stumble. We see these perfect portrayals of parenting and kids, and it's hard not to feel like we're falling short.
Exactly, Lisa. High expectations lead to disappointment for everyone. Expecting a toddler to have perfect impulse control or ourselves to be patient all the time sets us up for failure. This connects back to episode 3, where we introduced the good enough framework. It's about achievable reality, not impossible goals.
So, how do we begin to change these often hidden expectations?
We start by looking inward at our beliefs about what parenting should be. Ask yourself, where did these expectations come from? Our own childhood? Society? Social media? These beliefs are often deeply ingrained, and we don't even question them.
It's like our parenting is running on default settings programmed by others, and when reality doesn't match, we blame ourselves or our kids.
Precisely. So, we need to consciously reprogram. A helpful exercise is to write down your expectations for your children at different ages and for yourself as a parent. Be honest. Then examine them. Are they appropriate for their developmental stage? Are they fair? Do they truly benefit your child and family?
What does developmentally appropriate mean for our expectations?
It means understanding that children develop at their own pace. Expecting a toddler to share all their toys willingly isn't realistic. Sharing is a skill they learn over time. A realistic expectation might be to encourage short periods of sharing or to praise them when they do share, even briefly. It's about guiding them forward from where they are, not expecting them to be beyond their current stage.
So, it's about meeting them where they are. And this applies to our expectations of ourselves, too. We can't expect to be super parents who never get tired or frustrated.
Absolutely. Think about learning any new skill. You wouldn't expect to be a master guitarist on day one. Parenting is the ultimate skill, and we are lifelong learners. Expecting perfection from ourselves is like expecting to master the guitar in a week. It's not how growth happens. Realistic expectations for ourselves mean acknowledging that we'll make mistakes and have off days. That's perfectly okay. This is about embracing good enough in our own efforts.
So, instead of expecting kids to never misbehave, we can expect that they will sometimes test boundaries. And for ourselves, we shift from never losing our temper to responding with more patience most of the time.
That's a great reframe. It's about replacing rigid, perfectionistic goals with flexible, achievable aims. For children, it means understanding their developmental stage and providing support. For ourselves, it means recognizing our own humanity, our need for rest, and our learning curve.
What do we do when we realize an expectation, maybe one we've held for a long time, isn't realistic? It can feel like admitting failure.
That's where self-compassion comes in, as we discussed last episode. When you find an unrealistic expectation, it's not a time for self-criticism. It's an opportunity for awareness and gentle adjustment. You can say to yourself, I was expecting X, but that's not realistic for a child this age, or for me right now. What's a more helpful and achievable expectation? It's an act of kindness towards yourself, acknowledging that you are learning and adapting.
It sounds like a continuous process of tuning and adjusting, not a one-time fix.
Exactly. Children grow and change, and so do we. What's realistic today might need adjusting tomorrow. The goal is a flexible mindset, not static, perfect expectations. So, to recap, inflated expectations create disappointment. We need to understand where our expectations come from and examine them. Set developmentally appropriate expectations for children and realistic ones for ourselves. Adjusting these expectations is an ongoing process, approached with self-compassion.
It's about trading the pressure of impossible standards for the freedom of achievable goals. It helps us truly enjoy the messy, wonderful journey of parenting with our eyes open to the reality of it all.
Setting realistic expectations is key to a more relaxed and joyful parenting philosophy. It frees us from the tyranny of shoulds and lets us appreciate the progress.
And remember, this is a skill that strengthens with practice. Next episode, we'll tackle the insidious trap of comparison.
Welcome back to The Good Enough Parent. Last time, we discussed setting realistic expectations.
Oh, Alex, this is such a huge one. It feels like everywhere we turn, there's an opportunity to compare. Social media, playdates, even just overhearing other parents at the grocery store. It's exhausting.
Absolutely, Lisa. And it's so insidious. We often don't even realize we're doing it. We might see a friend's child sleeping through the night at 4 months and think, why isn't my baby doing that? Or we see a child who's reading chapter books at 6, and our own child's struggle with early readers suddenly feels like a personal failing.
Exactly. And it's not just about academics or sleep schedules. It's comparing how our kids behave, how we discipline, how put together other families seem. It can really chip away at our confidence. For me, I'd sometimes see a perfectly tidy living room on social media and feel a pang of guilt about the mountain of toys scattered across my own floor.
That's such a relatable example. The visually curated perfection we see elsewhere is a breeding ground for comparison. We're seeing highlight reels, not the everyday reality. And when we fall into this trap, it harms us in a few key ways. First, it fuels inadequacy. We start to feel like we're not doing enough, not doing it right, or that our child is somehow falling behind.
And that inadequacy can quickly turn into anxiety, right? We start second guessing our decisions, worrying incessantly about whether we're messing up our child's future. It makes us less present and less joyful in our parenting.
Precisely. It steals our joy. Instead of appreciating our child for who they are and celebrating their unique journey, we're constantly measuring them against an external, often unrealistic benchmark. And this brings us to the second major pitfall of comparison. It erodes our appreciation for our child's individuality. Every child develops at their own pace, has their own temperament, their own strengths, and their own areas for growth.
That's so true. My oldest was a very late talker. I remember the worry, the endless questions, the comparisons to younger cousins and friends' children who were already stringing sentences together. But eventually, he found his voice, and he has this incredible way with words now. Had I been too caught up in the early comparison, I might have missed his unique path.
That's a beautiful example, Lisa. And it highlights the importance of remembering that every child is on their own developmental timeline. What looks like behind from one perspective might just be a different pace. Think of it like a garden. Some flowers bloom in early spring, others in the heat of summer, and some in the crisp air of autumn. They're all beautiful, they're all growing, but they do so on their own schedule.
I love that analogy. So, how do we actively dismantle this trap? Because knowing it's bad is one thing, but stopping the behavior is another.
Great question. The first step is awareness. We need to become mindful of when we're comparing. Pay attention to those nagging thoughts, those moments of envy or worry. When you catch yourself thinking, so and so's child is already, or why isn't my child like, pause. Acknowledge the thought without judgment.
So, just noticing it is the first battle one?
Exactly. It's like shining a light on it. Once you see it, you can start to redirect it. And that leads to the second strategy, shifting your focus to gratitude and individual celebration. Instead of comparing, try to actively appreciate your child's current stage and their unique gifts. What can you be grateful for today about your child? What did they do that made you smile, however small?
That's a powerful reframing. So, instead of thinking, why isn't my child reading chapter books yet? I could shift to, I love how my child's imagination soars when we read picture books together.
Perfect. And a crucial tool in this process is establishing your own family's values and benchmarks. What's important to your family? Is it kindness, effort, perseverance, creativity, connection? When you have a clear sense of your core values, you're less likely to be swayed by external yardsticks. You can ask yourself, is my child embodying our family values, rather than comparing them to someone else's arbitrary achievement?
That makes so much sense. It grounds us. And what about when we see things that are genuinely concerning? Like a child who seems to be struggling significantly with a milestone other children are meeting?
That's a vital distinction. There's a difference between gentle observation and anxious comparison. If you have genuine concerns about your child development, it's always wise to speak with your pediatrician or a trusted professional. They can offer objective insights and support, which is very different from the unhelpful spiral of comparing yourself to other parents. Our goal isn't to ignore potential issues, but to address them from a place of informed care, not competitive anxiety.
Right.
So, separate the helpful concern from the unhelpful comparison. I'm also thinking about the impact this has on our children, even if they don't hear us explicitly comparing them. They can often sense our stress or worry.
Absolutely. Children are incredibly perceptive. When we're constantly stressed about their progress relative to others, it can create undue pressure on them. They might start to internalize that feeling of not being enough themselves. Conversely, when we approach our children with genuine appreciation for who they are, imperfections and all, they feel more secure and loved unconditionally.
It really comes back to that good enough philosophy, doesn't it? Embracing the fact that our children are good enough, and we are good enough as parents, even if we don't fit some mythical mold.
Precisely. And a key part of dismantling the comparison trap is embracing the beautiful mess of childhood. But for now, let's recap what we've covered today. We talked about how the comparison trap, often fueled by social media and everyday encounters, can lead to feelings of inadequacy and distract us from appreciating our child's individuality.
We discussed how to combat this by first becoming aware of our comparison thoughts, then actively shifting our focus to gratitude and celebrating our child's unique strengths and journey. Using analogies like the garden can help us remember that every child blooms in their own time.
And we touched on the importance of establishing our family's own values as a benchmark and distinguishing between genuine developmental concerns and anxious comparison. Remember, Your child is not a competitor, and you're not a race. You are on a shared journey, and your child's path is uniquely theirs. Embracing this individuality is perhaps the greatest gift we can give them and ourselves.
It really is. Let's all try to catch those comparison thoughts this week and instead focus on the amazing, unique person our child is.
Sounds like a plan. Next episode, we'll be embracing the beautiful mess of childhood. Welcome back. Last time we talked about dismantling the comparison trap. Now let's tackle embracing the beautiful mess of childhood.
Oh, the mess. It's like a constant, ever-present character in the parenting play, isn't it? From spilled juice and crayon-covered walls to muddy footprints and mountains of toys, it's everywhere. And I know for me, and I'm sure for many of our listeners, the urge to tidy, to organize, to control that mess can be overwhelming.
Exactly, Lisa. That urge comes from a place of wanting to create a calm, orderly environment. We often associate a tidy house with a well-managed life, and a well-managed life with good parenting. But today we want to challenge that. We want to talk about embracing the beautiful mess of childhood. What if the mess isn't an enemy, but an indicator of something wonderful happening?
That's a powerful shift in perspective. So, what are we saying here? That we should just let everything descend into chaos?
Not quite. It's more about understanding why the mess happens and what it signifies. Think about it. When a child is deeply engaged in play, what do you often see? They might be building a magnificent fort that takes up half the living room, or they could be knee-deep in paint, creating their next masterpiece. This isn't just random disarray. It's a sign of active exploration, creativity, and learning.
So, the mess is a byproduct of engagement. When my son is helping me bake and flour is everywhere, he's not doing it to make my life harder. He's genuinely excited about being involved, about the sensory experience of the flour, about the process of creating something.
Precisely. And when we try to shut that down too quickly because we're worried about the mess, we might inadvertently be shutting down their curiosity and their drive to explore. We're sending a message that orderliness or cleanliness is more important than their joyful engagement. This is a key part of good enough parenting, recognizing that sometimes the most valuable things are a little untidy.
That makes sense. The desire for perfectionism, which we've touched on throughout the series, really bites us here, doesn't it? We want a perfect, spotless home, and we want our children to behave in a perfectly polite, non-disruptive way. But that's not real childhood.
It's not real childhood, and it's certainly not good enough parenting. Good enough parenting acknowledges that childhood is inherently messy. Children learn through doing, through experimenting, through tactile experiences. Does a scientist in a lab wear pristine white gloves at all times while conducting experiments? Probably not. They embrace the process, which can involve spills, specialized tools, and a certain amount of controlled chaos.
That's a great analogy, Alex. So, how can parents start to shift their mindset from wanting to eliminate the mess to appreciating it?
One way is to consciously reframe the situation. Instead of thinking, oh no, look at this mess, try thinking, look how engaged they are, or this shows they're really putting their imagination to work. This small mental switch can change your emotional response. When you see the mess as evidence of learning and growth, it's less frustrating and more, well, beautiful.
So, it's about celebrating the process over the pristine outcome. And this also ties into what we discussed about setting realistic expectations. We should expect a certain level of mess.
Absolutely. Expect the mess. Plan for it, even. Designate specific areas for messy play, or set aside time for cleanup together. But during that messy playtime, try to just be present and enjoy watching your child explore. Resist the urge to hover and supervise every single spill. Children need space to get lost in their activities without feeling like they're constantly under a microscope, being judged on their tidiness.
And that freedom to explore, to be a little wild, allows for creativity to flourish, doesn't it? I sometimes find when my kids are allowed to just go for it, they come up with the most unexpected and imaginative ideas. The elaborate drawings, the bizarre but brilliant contraptions they build from couch cushions and blankets, those moments are pure magic.
They are. And they often come from giving children the permission to experiment, to fail, to try again, and yes, to make a mess while they do it. When we try to micromanage every aspect of their play to keep things tidy, we can stifle that spontaneous creativity. We can inadvertently be saying, this idea is good, but not if it gets paint on the floor.
It's like we're protecting them from a little bit of life by protecting them from the mess. And that's not serving them in the long run. We want them to be resilient, to be problem solvers, to be creative thinkers. Those skills are often honed in the very situations that create mess.
Exactly. So, let's recap this idea of embracing the beautiful mess. First, we need to shift our perspective. See the mess not as a failure of control, but as a sign of active learning, engagement, and creativity. When you see a pile of toys, think playtime, not chore. When you see a smear of mud, think outdoor exploration, not dirt.
And second, we need to adjust our expectations. Childhood is inherently messy. It's not about achieving a state of perpetual tidiness, but about finding a balance. We can have systems for managing the mess, but we also need to grant our children the freedom to be themselves, and that often involves a certain degree of beautiful chaos.
Third, allow for that freedom. Give them space and permission to explore, to experiment, to get their hands dirty, literally or figuratively. This is where true discovery happens and where they develop those vital problem solving and creative skills. Don't let the fear of a mess prevent a moment of inspired learning.
And finally, remember that this messiness is also a pathway to deeper connection with our children. When we can relax about the dirt and join them in their imaginative play, even for a few minutes, it creates special memories. It shows them that they and their interests are more important than a spotless carpet.
That's a wonderful point, Lisa. It's about valuing the moments of connection over perfect order. It's about recognizing that within the whirlwind of childhood activities, there's a tender, powerful process unfolding. This messy, chaotic, sometimes exhausting reality is where real growth and genuine joy happen for both kids and parents.
So, instead of fighting the mess, let's try to learn to dance with it. Let's appreciate the creativity it sparks, the learning it represents, and the authentic connection it can foster. Embracing the beautiful mess of childhood is a true hallmark of good enough parenting.
It really is. And it leads us directly into our next topic: how to reduce guilt and truly embrace imperfection in all aspects of parenting. Because once you start to see the beauty in the mess, you're well on your way to letting go of that persistent parental guilt. Next episode: reducing guilt and embracing imperfection. Welcome back. Last time, we explored how to dismantle the comparison trap.
Ah, guilt.
It feels like it's always lurking, doesn't it, Alex? Especially when we feel like we're falling short of some invisible standard.
Exactly, Lisa. And that invisible standard is often built on the very same myths we've been dismantling: the myth of the perfect parent and the idea that we have to be flawless. Guilt thrives in the space where we believe we should be perfect, but we know, deep down, that we aren't.
So, where does this guilt usually stem from? Is it just the internal pressure, or are there external factors too?
It's a potent mix of both. Internally, we might have our own ingrained beliefs about what parenting should look like, often shaped by our own upbringing or societal expectations. Externally, We see curated snippets of other people's lives, whether it's on social media or even just conversations with other parents, which can amplify that feeling of not measuring up.
That makes sense. It's like a constant stream of shoulds and coulds, and when we don't meet them, guilt shows up. So, how do we start to challenge those shoulds and release the guilt?
The first step is acknowledgement. We have to recognize that guilt is present and then start to question its validity. Is this guilt based on reality, or is it based on an unrealistic expectation? For instance, feeling guilty because your child didn't eat all their vegetables might be rooted in the idea that a good parent ensures their child eats perfectly balanced meals at every single sitting. But is that realistic?
Probably not for most of us. Occasionally forgetting a vegetable serving is a far cry from neglecting a child's nutritional needs. It's about putting things into perspective.
Precisely. And that perspective often comes from reframing our definition of a good enough parent. A good enough parent doesn't have perfectly behaved children, immaculate homes, and gourmet meals every night. A good enough parent is present, loving, and responsive. They make mistakes, they learn, and they repair.
That idea of repair, we touched on it before. It's so powerful. Instead of dwelling on the mistake, we focus on making amends and learning from it. How can we actively practice repair in moments that trigger guilt?
Repair often starts with an apology to ourselves first. We need to forgive ourselves for not being perfect. Then, if the situation warrants it, an apology to our child. So, if you snap because you were stressed, a simple, "I'm sorry I raised my voice, I was feeling overwhelmed," can be incredibly healing. It models emotional regulation and honesty for your child.
That's such a simple yet profound act. It's not about admitting you're a bad parent, but acknowledging a human moment and choosing to connect. It shifts the focus from the imperfection to the relationship.
Exactly. And another crucial aspect of releasing guilt is to consciously practice self-compassion. Think about how you would talk to a friend who is feeling guilty about their parenting. You'd be kind, understanding, and supportive. We need to offer that same kindness to ourselves.
Oh, that's a good one. We're often our own harshest critics, aren't we? We'd never speak to a friend the way we sometimes speak to ourselves in our heads.
Never. So, when guilt creeps in, ask yourself, what would I say to a friend in this situation? Or would I judge a dear friend this harshly for the same thing? This external perspective can help soften our internal dialogue.
And I imagine that actively practicing self compassion also helps us set more realistic expectations, which we discussed earlier. It's all interconnected.
Absolutely. When we're compassionate with ourselves, we're less likely to aim for an unattainable standard of perfection, which in turn reduces the opportunities for guilt to arise. Remember when we talked about the myth of perfection? Guilt is often the shadow that perfection casts. By embracing imperfection, we shrink the shadow.
So, it's not about eliminating all moments of parental struggle or mistakes, but about fundamentally changing our relationship with them. Instead of seeing them as proof of failure, we see them as part of the human experience of parenting.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. It's about shifting from a mindset of, "I must be perfect," to "I am enough, even when I'm not perfect." This also involves challenging those specific thoughts that fuel guilt. When a guilt-inducing thought pops up, pause and examine it. Is it a fact or an interpretation? Is it helpful or hurtful?
So, for example, if the thought is, I'm a terrible mom because I let my child watch too much TV today, we could challenge it by asking, was it just today? Is it truly terrible? Or was it a way for me to get rest? Or for my child to have some downtime? Did I do anything else to support them today?
Exactly. You're looking for nuance, for the fuller picture, rather than latching onto a single negative interpretation. And often, we find that the guilt is amplified by our own internal narrative, not necessarily by the objective reality of the situation.
It's like we're the detectives of our own self doubt, trying to find the evidence for and against the guilt.
And the evidence usually points towards us being loving, decent parents who are doing our best in any given moment. Another strategy is to focus on what went well, even if it was a small thing. Did you connect with your child, even for a brief moment? Did you manage to get dinner on the table, even if it wasn't fancy? Celebrate those small wins.
That's a great reminder. It's easy to overlook the positives when we're focused on what we perceive as negatives. So, to recap this episode, we've talked about acknowledging guilt, understanding its sources, and actively challenging unrealistic expectations. We've emphasized the power of self-compassion and reframing repair as a positive act.
And the core message is this: letting go of the unattainable pursuit of perfection is the key to reducing parental guilt. Embracing imperfection doesn't mean lowering your standards in terms of love and care. It means accepting that you and your children are human. And that, in itself, is a beautiful thing.
It really is. It frees us up to be more present and enjoy those precious moments.
We'll explore savoring the present moment with your children in our next episode. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to The Good Enough Parent. We're diving into something truly precious, savoring the present moment with your children.
And Alex, this is such a critical topic, especially for parents trying to release the ideal of perfection. When you're chasing perfection, you're always looking ahead or dwelling on past mistakes. You're rarely fully in the now.
Exactly. The relentless pursuit of perfect parenting makes us future-focused. We plan the next activity, worry about the next milestone, or fret about doing enough for future success. Or we're in the past, replaying something we wish we'd done differently. Both pull us right out of the golden moments happening in front of us.
It's like you're there physically, but mentally you're somewhere else. And the kids feel it, don't they? They can sense when our attention isn't fully on them.
They absolutely can. This isn't about being a perfect parent who is always perfectly present. That's just another form of perfectionism. It's about cultivating the art of savoring. It's about recognizing those small, everyday opportunities for connection and joy. Think about it. What are the moments you look back on with the most fondness? Often, it's not the grand vacations, but the simple, quiet moments. A shared giggle over a silly drawing, the warmth of a hug, listening to them recount their day.
Those are the gold nuggets, aren't they? But so many of us have to actively train ourselves to notice them. How do we start doing that? What are some practical ways to be more present?
One of the most powerful tools is mindfulness. At its core, mindfulness is simply paying attention, on purpose, to the present moment, without judgment. It's about noticing. For parents, this can involve simple practices integrated into your day. For instance, when you're with your child, try to slow down. If you're playing, immerse yourself in the game. What are the sounds? What are the textures? What are they saying and how are they saying it?
So, it's about engaging all your senses. Not just looking at them, but really hearing them, feeling the moment.
Precisely. Another technique is mindful listening. When your child is talking, put down your phone. Turn to them. Make eye contact. Resist the urge to interrupt or jump to solutions. Just listen. Really hear what they're saying and what they're feeling. You'll be amazed at how much richer those conversations become. You might realize you were missing out on so much by just half listening while thinking about your to-do list.
That's a big one. I've been guilty of that, nodding along while my mind is miles away. And when I snap back, I feel like I've missed half of it. So, being present means giving them your undivided attention, even for short bursts.
Exactly. And it's about reframing everyday tasks. Think about meal times, bath times, or even just walking to the car. These can become opportunities for connection if we approach them with presence. Instead of rushing through a meal, try to really be there. Ask open-ended questions. What was the funniest thing that happened today? Or what are you looking forward to tomorrow? And really listen to the answers.
I love that. It's about transforming the mundane into meaningful. It's not about planning elaborate outings every day, but about finding the richness in the ordinary. I remember a time when my son was having a real meltdown, and I was feeling so overwhelmed. My instinct was to shut down, to mentally escape. But I tried to force myself to just be there. I sat with him, breathed with him, and just acknowledged his big feelings without trying to fix them immediately. And in that space of shared presence, the storm passed, but more importantly, I felt connected to him, even in his distress.
That's a perfect example, Lisa. You didn't try to force perfection. You didn't try to instantly stop the tears or make him perfectly happy. You were present with his imperfect emotions. And that presence, that acceptance, was what he needed. It's a form of repair, just like we talked about. Being present allows for repair.
And for parents who are constantly feeling like they're not doing enough, being present can also be a powerful antidote to guilt. If you're truly paying attention to your child, you realize you're already giving them a lot. You're giving them your time, your attention, your love. That's the good enough right there.
Absolutely. It's a shift from doing perfectly to being fully. And it's a practice. It won't happen overnight. You'll have moments where you catch yourself drifting. The key is to gently bring yourself back. No judgment. Just notice you're distracted and return your focus to your child, to the moment. Think of it like a muscle you're building. The more you practice, the stronger it gets.
So, to recap for our listeners, savoring the present moment means actively choosing to be where your children are, both physically and mentally. It involves engaging your senses, practicing mindful listening, and reframing everyday routines as opportunities for connection. It's about stepping away from the future focus of perfectionism and the past focus of regret, and landing in the here and now.
And the beauty of this is that it doesn't require grand gestures. It's in the small, consistent moments. It's about noticing the quiet magic that unfolds when you're truly present. It's about seeing your child, really seeing them in this very moment. It's in the quiet reading time, the shared laughter over a dropped toy, the comfort of a bedtime story. These are the building blocks of a secure, loving relationship, and they are built on presence.
It's a gentle reminder that the most valuable gift we can give our children isn't always another toy or activity, but simply our focused, loving attention. Being present with them allows us to truly enjoy the chaotic, beautiful, often messy adventure of childhood.
And as you release the pressure of perfection, you'll naturally find yourself more able to soak in these moments. You'll start to see the joy, the wonder, and the profound connection that's available to you right now. It's the essence of good enough parenting, being fully present for the imperfectly perfect reality of your child's life.
So let's all try to practice that today. Find one small moment to be truly present with our children. Notice what happens.
Next episode, we'll be building on this foundation as we explore how to cultivate a confident and relaxed parenting philosophy. We're discussing building a confident and relaxed parenting philosophy.
That feels like such a welcome shift from the pressure of perfection, Alex. So many of us spend so much energy trying to be the perfect parent, and it's exhausting. Adopting a philosophy of confidence and relaxation sounds like a breath of fresh air.
It truly is. And the amazing thing is, it's a natural outcome of embracing the good enough approach. When we stop chasing an impossible ideal, we can finally see and appreciate our own capacity as parents. Confidence in parenting isn't about never making mistakes. It's about trusting that our best effort is sufficient and that we can handle the challenges that arise.
I think that distinction is so important. For anyone who might hear good enough and think it's an excuse to not try, we've really emphasized that it's about being present, responsive, and loving. It's about deep connection, not flawless execution. It's about being effective, not perfect.
Exactly. And when that understanding settles in, it frees up so much emotional and mental space. Think about all the energy parents expend on second guessing their decisions. Was that the right snack? Did I react appropriately? When we let go of perfection, we can hold those questions with less anxiety and more trust in our own instincts. We recognize that missteps are learning opportunities for everyone.
That connects directly back to when we talked about setting realistic expectations. When our expectations are grounded in the reality of childhood and the humanity of parents, our actions become more natural and less forced. We're working with our children's developmental stages and our own limitations, not against them.
Precisely. And this ease, this absence of constant internal pressure, is what allows true confidence to bloom. When you're relaxed, you're more attuned to your child's cues. You're less likely to be driven by anxiety, which can lead to overcompensating or reacting in ways that aren't truly helpful. This confident, relaxed presence communicates safety and acceptance to your child, which is the foundation for their own healthy development.
It reminds me, Alex, of how crucial the concept of repair is. When we aren't aiming for perfection, we accept that bumps and bruises are inevitable. The good enough parent might make a mistake, but they also have the capacity to repair the rupture. That act of repairing, whether it's a simple apology or a conscious effort to reconnect, is immensely valuable. It teaches children about navigating conflict, about resilience, and about the strength of relationships.
That's a brilliant way to put it, Lisa. The repair itself builds confidence. It's not about avoiding falling. It's about knowing you have the capacity to get back up, learn from the experience, and reconnect. Consistently engaging in repair fosters a deep-seated confidence in your ability to manage the inevitable ups and downs of parenting. You stop questioning every little thing because you've demonstrated to yourself that you can handle challenges and emerge stronger.
And this naturally cultivates a more relaxed home environment. When parents feel more confident and less stressed, that positive energy radiates outward. Children thrive in an atmosphere of security where their parents are present and responsive, not because the parents are flawless, but because they are consistently loving and appropriately engaged.
It's a powerful ripple effect. When we extend that self-compassion we discussed earlier to ourselves, we become much more capable of extending it to our children. This means approaching their mistakes with understanding and also refraining from harsh self-criticism when we fall short. This compassionate outlook is the bedrock of both confidence and relaxation in parenting.
So, Alex, to weave together what we've shared today, building that confident and relaxed parenting philosophy really boils down to a few key ideas. First, truly embracing good enough, parenting as effective, connection focused, and responsive, rather than pursuit of unattainable perfection. Second, setting realistic expectations that align with the realities of childhood and parenthood, which naturally reduces stress and increases genuine engagement. Third, prioritizing the power of repair after inevitable missteps, which builds resilience for both parent and child and strengthens the relationship. And fourth, cultivating self-compassion, allowing us to be kinder to ourselves and, in turn, to our children, fostering overall peace in the home.
That's a spot-on summary, Lisa. This philosophy truly allows us to release the grip of perfectionism and immerse ourselves in the joys of parenting. When we're relaxed and confident, we're more present, more joyful, and can truly savor the everyday moments with our children. We've moved past the myth of the perfect parent, understood the good enough framework, embraced the beautiful mess, and learned to be kind to ourselves. All of these elements lead us to this more peaceful and capable state of being.
It feels like we've arrived at a place of deep understanding and internal peace, ready to navigate the parenting journey with a sense of grounded competence. We're no longer constantly striving for an external ideal. We're rooted in the reality of our lives and the love we share with our children.
And that is a truly sustainable and enriching way to parent. This confidence and relaxation aren't just nice to haves. They are fundamental to creating a secure and loving environment where children can truly flourish. We've demonstrated how letting go of the illusion of perfection allows us to be more effective, more compassionate, and crucially, more present parents.
It profoundly transforms the entire parenting experience. The focus shifts from our perceived performance to the quality of the relationship, which, in the end, is what truly nourishes us and our children.
Exactly. And as we look forward to our final episode, where we'll be tying everything together with the joyful journey of good enough parenting, I encourage listeners to hold on to this feeling of relaxed confidence. It's a confidence earned through implementing the practices we've explored: self-compassion, realistic expectations, and the art of repair.
So, we hope we've provided you with the insights and tools today to build that confident and relaxed parenting philosophy for yourselves. It's an ongoing journey, but one that is infinitely more rewarding than the exhausting chase for perfection.
Next episode, the joyful journey of good enough parenting. Welcome back to The Good Enough Parent. This is our final journey into releasing perfectionism and embracing authentic parenting.
And what a journey it's been, Alex. We've really dug deep into what it means to be a truly good enough parent. We've challenged the idea of perfection and explored how embracing our imperfections can actually be the path to a more joyful and connected family life.
Absolutely, Lisa. We started by dismantling the pervasive myth of the perfect parent. This image is not only unattainable, but also incredibly detrimental to our well-being and our children's development. It creates constant pressure to be something we're not.
Yes, and you introduced us to the core framework of good enough parenting. The concept that a parent doesn't need to be perfect, but rather needs to be consistently responsive and attuned to their child's needs. It's about providing a safe and loving base, not a flawless one.
Exactly. And that leads beautifully into the power of repair over perfection. We learned that making mistakes is inevitable, but how we handle those missteps, how we apologize, explain, and reconnect with our children is far more important than avoiding the mistake altogether. Repair builds resilience and trust.
That was a key takeaway for me. It shifted my perspective from I must never mess up to when I mess up, I can effectively repair it. And cultivating self-compassion felt like the natural next step. So much of our quest for perfection stems from not being kind to ourselves.
Precisely. We explored how treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we'd offer a friend can drastically reduce the inner critic. Self-compassion isn't about making excuses. It's about acknowledging our human struggles and extending ourselves grace, especially during the demanding phases of parenting.
Then we tackled setting realistic expectations. This was so crucial. We talked about how understanding child development and recognizing that our children are individuals helps us avoid setting ourselves up for disappointment.
And that naturally brought us to dismantling the comparison trap. In today's world, it's so easy to look at other parents and feel inadequate. We discussed practical strategies for stepping away from that constant measuring stick and focusing on our own family's unique journey.
I remember that one so vividly. The idea that comparison steals joy really stuck with me. It's so true. And embracing the beautiful mess of childhood felt like a celebration. Giving ourselves permission to let go of the need for perfect order and embracing the delightful chaos of active, growing children.
That was all about finding joy in the imperfections, in the sticky fingers, the scattered toys, the spontaneous laughter. It's about seeing the beauty in the unpolished reality of family life. And reducing guilt and embracing imperfection helped us unburden ourselves.
Yes, the guilt often comes from that perfectionistic ideal. By accepting good enough, we can significantly reduce that burden. And then, we shifted our focus to savoring the present moment. This is such a vital practice for enjoying the journey, rather than constantly chasing an imagined ideal future.
Savoring the small moments, the everyday interactions. That's where the real magic of parenting lies. And this brings us to building a confident and relaxed parenting philosophy. It's about internalizing these lessons and allowing them to create a more grounded, less anxious approach.
So, we've covered a lot of ground, Alex. From understanding the good enough framework and the power of repair, to cultivating self compassion and realistic expectations, dismantling the comparison trap, embracing the beautiful mess, reducing guilt, savoring the present, and building a confident philosophy.
That's right, Lisa. And now we bring it all together. The good enough parent isn't a destination, it's an ongoing journey. It's a philosophy that allows us to be present, to connect deeply with our children, and to find immense joy in the imperfect, authentic experience of raising a family. It's about releasing the pressure to be perfect and embracing the freedom to be human.
It's about recognizing that our children don't need a perfect parent. They need a present, loving, and reliably responsive parent. They need someone who can navigate the bumps and bruises of life with them, offering both support and the opportunity to learn from every experience.
And this journey of good enough parenting is one that continues to unfold. As our children grow, our roles and challenges will evolve. But by internalizing these principles of self-compassion, realistic expectations, and the power of repair, we equip ourselves to meet those challenges with greater ease and joy.
It's about letting go of the internal scoreboard and focusing instead on the connection we're building. It's about being the kind of parent who allows their child to be imperfectly themselves, because that's what we've managed to be ourselves.
And in doing so, we not only foster a more harmonious home environment, but also give our children the best possible foundation for their own emotional well-being and resilience. They learn that mistakes are part of life and that love and support are always present, even when things go wrong.
It's a profoundly liberating shift, isn't it? To move from striving for an impossible ideal to embracing the beautiful, messy, and deeply rewarding reality of our families. This series has been such a powerful reminder that true parenting success isn't measured by perfection, but by presence, connection, and love.
Thank you to all our listeners for joining us on this incredible journey through the good enough parent. We hope you found these episodes insightful, empowering, and ultimately a source of comfort and inspiration. Remember, you are doing a wonderful job, and your good enough is, in fact, more than enough.
It truly is.
It's been a pleasure to explore these ideas with you, Alex, and with all of you at home. Embrace the grace, extend the kindness, and enjoy the wonderful, imperfect ride.
Thanks for listening to the series.